Hey everyone, this is Sandeep back with another video. And in today's video, I'm going to continue our Spring and Spring Boot series. And today I'm going to talk about two different annotation, or I would say two more Spring annotations. They're not actually officially, they don't actually belong to Spring. They're more of a J2EE annotations. So let's jump into the video and let's talk about those annotations. So the first one I would like to talk about is the post construct annotation. Now in the last video, right, if you have seen the last video, the link of this playlist is in the description. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I highly recommend you go and watch those videos. So in the last video, I talked about the component annotation. So we have created some of the beans, right, with the component annotation. Like I can give the example, like this geo bin, which I have created using the component annotation. So when we create any bean with component annotation, we lose the control, right? So I cannot instantiate the object of this bean. So the creation and management, all those things are done by Spring. Like take the case of this one, right? In case of if you create the bean using the bean annotation, you have the control. You can create the bean by yourself, and you can while creating the bean, probably you can assign the values, or you can set the properties through the constructor methods or the setter methods. But when we use the component annotation, right, we lose the control to set its properties. Now the same can be done by annotating the method. So okay, so I'm actually referring to my notes, and I want to show my notes to you also. So what is going on here basically? So I told you, right, we lose control when we use the component annotation. So say suppose you're using the component annotation, right? So like in our case, like this is a geo class. So instead of geo class, so first we need to create a different project, so that you can refer this project later on. So let me start here. First of all, I'll go into the project structure, and let's create a new module here. Okay. So let's give it a name of bean lifecycle annotations. Okay. I think this looks good. Let me look at this part also. Okay, so inside the Spring course. Okay, so bin lifecycle annotations, that's what I'm creating. And maybe I did a mistake. I should have created this as a Maven project so that I would have got the POM XML, but that's okay. So I'm going to close all other files now, and I'll just keep this main.java open. And I'm going to copy and paste some of the code from the previous one. So I'm going to copy this com.cws entire folder, and we are talking about lifecycle annotation. So let's paste it here. I don't see the option of paste. Okay. So probably I got only CWS. I don't know why I always get. So I want to rename this package now. So that should be com.cws refactor. Okay. I need the pom.xml file also. So bean config main I'll copy the pom.xml also, and I'll put it. It should go inside the project. Okay, so we have everything, right? Now I need to change this name also, right? Bean lifecycle annotation. Bean lifecycle annotations. I'm going to name it, and you should be able to see the project here. Okay, I need to add the POM actually. Okay, it's got copied and pasted 2 times. So I'm going to add the POM, add as a Maven project, and you see here, right? So it's going to download the dependencies and everything. So let's talk about the post construct annotation, right? So I can use the component annotation, right? So let's first create a bean. So first of all, I need to create a bean. So let's create one more bean. Maybe I'll create a new Java class here, and let's create Airtel bin this time, right? Let's give it a name of Airtel, and I'll be copying the things from here. Okay, from the geo class, and I'm going to change something here. So instead of geo, I'm going to put it Airtel calling using Airtel. Here also I'm going to say calling surfing using Airtel. So I've created Airtel bean, right, or Airtel class, and I'm going to make it component. I'm going to make it as a component. Okay. So this is my component annotation. Now I have the app config, right, and I'm not going to use any bean annotation, right? So when we use the bean annotation, you have the control, right? So now, say suppose I want to create the Airtel bin and I want to set its IMEI number. I cannot do it with component annotation because this component, uh, the classes which we give the component as annotation are created and managed by the Spring. So that's a problem, right? So in this case, what we can do, right, inside my Airtel bin, I can write a method. So there is a method which we can write called you can name that method anything, but we can annotate that method as a post construct annotation. Okay, so which tells the Spring to execute that method after the bean creation. So we can leverage after the bean creation, we can leverage that function and we can set the IMEI number, right? So you're not losing the control, but you're getting the control back now using that annotation. So to use the post construct annotation, we need to first of all, include some of the dependencies in our pom.xml file. And that dependency is nothing but Javax annotation API. So obviously I'm going to search it here. So let's go to Maven repository and search for Javax annotation. Okay, annotation API. And I think Javax annotation, I think I did a mistake here. Okay, this one. So this one I need, and this jar actually contains that annotation. So this is not part of a Spring. I would say this is part of a J2EE. So I'm going to copy this dependency and I'll go back and I'll paste it here inside my dependencies. I'm going to remove this part. Okay. I'm going to save, reload, and this will probably load or download my dependency. Now I have the dependency, I think so. So I'll go back to Airtel. And here I'm going to write a method called, so you can make that method private, public, whatever you want. So this is not going to return anything. So I'm going to say init. So when this bean is going to get initialized by Spring, it's going to call this function. And how it is going to call, how Spring will know I have to call this function after the creation of this bean using the post construct bean. See that is a part of Javax annotation. And now here I can set the IMEI number. Even I can, I don't know, I don't know if we can pass any arguments for now, but I can set the IMEI number now here. So say suppose I'm creating the bean with this IMEI number. So now you're getting the control, right? At least whenever you're going to create any Airtel bin, it's going to have some sort of IMEI number. So now let's create this bin, right? So I'll go back to my app config. Not app config, I'll go back to my main.java and we need to copy some of the code from the last module, right? In the main. So let me copy this part at least. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and I'll put it inside my main here. So let's remove this hello world. We don't need it. Okay, so we are creating the annotation context, right? Application context. Then I'm creating the Vodafone SIM. Instead of Vodafone, I'm going to create the Airtel SIM. I'm going to name it SIM. And I'm saying, okay, give me the Airtel dot class. And let's use sim dot calling and sim dot data. But I'm not interested in calling and data function. I know it's going to do the same thing. I'll go into my Airtel class, right? And I'm going to add a toString method here so that I can see the IMEI number. Okay, so let's generate a toString method here and with the IMEI number. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this. I'm going to S out my sim. That's it. Okay, so let's clean, not component annotation. Actually, I need to clean and install, clean bean lifecycle annotations. And the second one is install. And that should create the target folder inside this. Okay, we got the target folder. Now let's run this. See that? I'm getting Airtel with the IMEI number. Now, if I go back to my Airtel class, right, and if I remove this post construct, right, if I remove this, again, I'll do the clean and install. Let's go back to main, run it. And this time, you'll see the Airtel, but the IMEI number is Sandeep. Now, from where the IMEI number is coming, so probably this is coming from, okay. So this IMEI number, I don't know from where it is coming, but this is coming from somewhere. I need to debug that part. But if I want to set that IMEI number by myself, right? And so I can use this R post construct annotation. Okay. So this is about when the bean has been created. And if you want to do something with the bean, you can use the post construct annotation. Let's talk about the next annotation, that is pre-destroy, which you can use before your context has been closed. So if you see here, right, we have created this in the main.java. Actually, I need to go back to main.java. Here, if you see, right, this is the context we are creating. So we close the context also. So whenever we are done with everything, we are done with our program, right, we are going to close the context. And this is good practice. You should always do that. So when we close the context, what Spring is going to do, Spring is going to destroy all the beans that Spring has created. Now, if you want to do some action before the bean has been destroyed, like you can use this in case of, say, suppose you want to close any IO resources or maybe the database connection and all those things. I think Spring automatically does that, but still anything, if you need a control before destroying the bean, right? Like I have given the example, you can use the pre-destroy annotation. So let's create that example also. So in this case, I'm going to go back to Airtel class only, and here I'm going to create that method. So I'm going to say private void destroy. So this method Spring is going to call. I'm just going to put the S out here. Destroying Airtel SIM, something like this. Okay, and I'm going to annotate it with something called a pre-destroy annotation. Now, because of this, whenever we are closing the context in our main.java, that method is going to get called. So let's do the clean and install. And I'll go back to main, run it. And you see that, right? Destroying Airtel SIM, we are getting that output because we have closed the context. So if you haven't closed the context, then probably that destroy annotation or that method is not going to get executed. So I think really easy annotation and really useful. Sometimes this annotation can be really useful. And maybe when we will create the project, we'll come up with a scenario where we want to use these annotations. So I think this might be a short video, right? I just wanted to cover these two annotations in this part of the video. I'll continue this series. I'll come up with more annotations, more ways, and more projects in Spring and Spring Boot. And later on, probably we can connect our React with Spring Boot projects also. So I think that's it for this video. I'm going to come back with another video in the series. Until then, you take care and goodbye. And thanks for watching the video.